Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Actually, I think the last episode did go out maybe on New Year's Day, which I thought was New Year's Eve originally when we talked about it. But so technically that was the New Year, but now we're really, really in the New Year.
Happy 2021, everyone.
We made it.
We sure did.
We're still starting things on a bit of a precipice, but we made it.
We're still alive.
Mm-hmm. Just like that song. The one you hate.
What's
it's
that?
From it's from the video game Portal, but we haven't it was a free song once upon a time in Rock Band. It's called Still Alive. It's sung by a robot computer named GLaDOS.
I mean, it's all right for robot computer songs, but when the kids play it on Rock Band over and over and over again, it gets old.
We never played Rock Band. That was a big New Year's goal for me.
Nope, we sure didn't. And
does anyone else out there play Rock Band?
Please play with us if you do.
Yeah,
because
we can play
we
online.
need adult interaction.
We had some adult interaction.
Yes.
Recently.
Mm-hmm. Playing D&D.
Well, we did two things. So we had a friend's birthday. Shout out to Beamel if you're listening. His request, we actually had two requests. He told us a while ago that we should do a role-playing game kind of thing because we were doing that for a little while at our house.
The before times.
In the before times. And he said we should do something like that again. And he forgot he made that request. But I started prepping anyway. It took me a while. But he wanted to play Among Us.
We did.
Which he had never played before, but he heard the kids were playing it, and it's cool. I don't know. I'm not sure why he decided he needed to play it. But
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
If you haven't played Among Us, it is a social deduction game of sorts, but it's online. So we used to play, we own a few of these games that are in like board game or card game form. The sort of the granddaddy of them all, I think, is the one called Werewolf, where it's just a bunch of people sitting around a table. One of them's a werewolf that kills someone every night. As you go through this narration, everyone goes to sleep. The werewolf kills somebody, and then the town has to try to figure out who the werewolf is. And it's a lynching-centric game. The town will take justice into their own hands and kill whoever they think is the werewolf. And if they're right, they win. And if they're wrong, they've just killed one of their own, and the werewolf's job is that much easier. And Among Us is just like that, only with mini games, I guess, kind of. And it's a visual aspect. You can catch someone in the act of killing.
Right, you're like on spaceships.
Right. Yeah, you're little colorful astronaut dudes with funny hats.
Yeah, it was cute, and it was fun. And people should play it if they're like missing friends and stuff. You can get together with them and play it.
And Among Us on its own, you can play it with random people on the internet.
You can. And
there's a chat feature so you can type to each other, which
it wasn't so easy to use.
That does not sound fun to me.
No, but
we did a Zoom and then also Among Us.
Yes, that worked out well, I thought, because we could see our friends and play a game at the same time that was online. I mean, there are other games you can do that with, but this worked nicely.
Yeah. And I think you had tried Among Us once before with the kids, right?
I hated it. I didn't get it, really. I love my kids, but playing with them is stressful. They're just so noisy and dumb sometimes, and I don't know.
To prepare for this game of Dungeons and Dragons with our friends, I ran the kids through part of that same adventure on New Year's Eve. You were in the other room.
Right. I did not want any part of that.
Do you think you could have handled it?
No, I could not have handled that. I mean, It was nonstop, just nonstop yelling and
yelling. That's not the right word. Talking over each other.
It wasn't like, right. Yeah. They're so loud. They're just so loud.
I don't know how I get through it, honestly.
You did
because I'm not very good with the loud, but we did it. It was interesting.
It just my nerves are shot because of those types of things. I can't handle them.
But you did have one glorious tweet, and I mean, if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons or know what it is, or even just watch Stranger Things, our kids talked their way through a couple different rooms full of goblins by pretending that they were there to work in the dungeon and provide entertainment as a Dave Matthews cover band.
Right. I don't know how they came up with that idea.
I don't know. I don't know either, but they did it. And they went through a handful of rooms in this dungeon until it was time to go do something else.
They're like, hey, we're the band.
And they barely fought anything. They were talking their way through stuff and tricking monsters. And then I run the same adventure for a bunch of adults.
and like I said, there's 2 women and 4 men. There's
a sad looking goblin over there. Let's murder it.
Right. And they're immediately just want to murder everything.
Fascinating.
And I'm like, wait, let's talk to them. Maybe they're not mean.
I don't think it's an age thing, but I do wonder if it's a generational thing, that this younger generation just wants peace. And we grew up in the 80s where war was cool.
I don't know about that. I didn't want to murder things. I mean, I do like to murder things in video games a lot.
I mean, I'm not saying you wanted to when you were a kid. I'm just saying it was part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's on the news every day.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And that's when Dungeons and Dragons was like satanic.
Mm-hmm.
So supposedly.
I had a friend that played it, but I never played it as a kid. I had a friend. His name was Johnny Washburn.
Oh.
And
hey, Johnny, I hope you're listening.
Yeah, he played it a lot. And unfortunately, he had a really bad accident. He's still alive, but he had a really bad accident where he was riding a bike and they were doing jumps out into the street. So like they were riding in a field and they built a berm that they could jump, like ride their bikes up and do jumps into the street, and a semi-truck hit him when he jumped.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He was in the hospital for a very long time and then was in a hospital bed at home for a very long time. I eventually moved away, but he was alive when I left. So I hope you're still alive, Johnny, and still playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, when your body breaks, D&D is a great escape. So,
he was messed up. Yeah.
He was an active person and also a D&D player, and then his body broke. I had a friend in high school who was a jock and then got like a hernia, like sophomore year of high school, and then became a gamer and never looked back.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Those physical injuries can change you.
I mean, a hernia is just when your intestines pop out through your...
Well, you got a tear in your abdominal wall, so that your intestine...
You can get over that.
Lining, well, yeah, no, I mean, the hernia was not a forever injury.
I see. He just got addicted.
It's just he stopped being a jock. Yeah.
He got addicted to the game life.
Mm-hmm. In fact, actually, yeah, another guy was on the football team freshman year and he was a big guy, got a stress fracture in his foot, and also never looked back and became not just a D&D nerd, but eventually a full-on witch.
Ooh,
and
I've heard of him.
You knew that? Yeah, I've told you stories about that guy.
He's a warlock.
The Witch King of Milwaukee, last I heard. I don't know if he still is. I haven't kept up on that, but
that's pretty awesome.
I mean, he's a good dude, despite what you might think about Witch Kings. Especially if you've ever watched Lord of the Rings, not a good dude, that Witch King of Angmar, but the Witch King of Milwaukee, nice guy.
So a Witch King is different than a warlock.
You can't be look,
warlock.
I'm
king.
not an expert. I think in some mythologies or whatever, I think the witch and then the warlock is the opposite, is the male version of the witch. But I don't think that carries through to like actual Wiccan stuff. If you're like, I don't know.
Okay.
Like, real world, like real Wiccans. I don't.
School us, people. Are there warlocks and witches?
If you know the difference between a witch and a warlock, let us know. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
You can always reach us. Just plug it now instead of later. Email jeff@potofthrones.com or @potofthrones on Twitter if you know anything about witch lore or anything else.
Jennifer@potofthrones.com or @kidfreeweekend on Twitter.
Look at you. You're a pro. You got it.
Mm-hmm. After all these years.
@kidfreeweekend.
You know what I looked at today?
No, maybe.
For like an hour straight.
Probably not my butt then.
TikTok.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you load the app?
Yes.
Oh, no.
It was fantastic.
Was it?
Yeah.
Are you going to start TikToking?
I don't know about that, but I mean, I learned all kinds of art things, how to do stuff, watch some videos of stupid people doing stupid stuff. I can see how people can just watch that all day. This is what's wrong with society.
Well, if you're a TikToker, you're actually doing things. So that part's not bad. But if you...
Is that something you put on your resume?
TikToker? I'm a
TikToker?
TikToker? Maybe, like if you have millions of followers. I guess it's like when the kids would watch people play video games, which I think they still do, but not as much as they used to. But that would bug me, not because there's anything wrong with watching someone play a video game at a basic level, but
hours?
Play the video game sometimes, you know?
Learn from it. And
watch a video. Yeah, like watch a video if it's a review or something funny and insightful, or you need a strategy hint or something.
Yeah.
But not just for hours and hours and all day and never actually playing your own game. That seemed silly to me.
Well, I mean, sometimes people are funny. People listen to us talk.
People are strange when you're a stranger.
Faces look ugly when you're alone.
Amen.
True.
Speaking of people being strange.
Ugly faces?
Sometimes hidden faces. We should be talking about the Watchmen.
We watched Watchmen.
Yeah, we did.
We should call it Pot of Watchers. Pot of Watchers.
Well, that would be great if there was going to be at least a season 2. But since there's not.
Yeah.
But there will be more Game of Thrones, man. Just keep the faith. If there's any faith left to keep.
HBO lost 51% of its adult viewers due to the ending of Game of Thrones.
Right. Where'd you get that info?
It was a news article.
But like from a real news source?
It was from the New York something.
New York something. Well, that's probably, there's a good chance it's legit. Yeah. Well, Game of Thrones was a big shit. And then...
That was their big shit. Like, that was their first big shit. And last big shit.
Whoever didn't start prepping the spin-off stuff like 2 years earlier so that you could just go straight from Game of Thrones and then the next year have a spin-off.
You lost your job.
Whoever planned that out did a terrible job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But I'm sure HBO thought that they could succeed on the backs of their other shows. I mean, Westworld has a good following, right? And they were coming out with all sorts of new stuff.
Right, and we watch plenty of HBO. I'm just saying that's...
Well, right. I'm still very happy with my HBO subscription, whether it's John Oliver or the stuff we've been watching, Watchmen and
but a lot of people
Lovecraft.
Specifically got HBO to watch Game of Thrones, and then they got pissed off at the
Well,
end.
that's how it started for us. It's a little gateway drug.
But let's watch
They'll be
Watchmen.
back. All right, so yeah, let's talk about Watchmen. Little Fear of Lightning, Season 1, Episode 5. I'm going to go ahead and start again with the story that still has no consequence. Over on Vite Island, as I'm calling it now. Or whatever it is. It's not even an island, is it? That would have to be surrounded by water.
I think it's a bubble.
Vite Bubble. Good idea. Over inside Vite Bubble. Adrian Vite, Jeremy Irons, is now in his brand new diving suit. It is fur-lined.
Yeah.
He figured out how to stop himself from freezing to death. Just put a little fur in there. A dog wouldn't freeze in space, I guess.
Maybe that was what the buffalo was for.
Oh. He wasn't trying to get its meat. That's a good point.
Fur.
I mean, where would he get the fur otherwise? Unless it was hair and he just shaved a whole bunch of Phillipses.
Oh, could be. It was brown.
Yep. So he's got his new diving suit. He gets into the catapult. They fire him off. And he is now in space.
Right.
So mystery
he's
solved.
got a rope attached to him.
Well, his breathing rope, his breathing tube.
I guess,
just like
but
an
it
old
looked
school.
like a regular rope to me.
Well, it had to be a tube because they had to be giving him oxygen, right?
You would think so.
You would think so. Very old school diving suit, but now in space. And he is... I wasn't sure what we were supposed to be looking at there because there was a planet in the background and there was a big spot on it, but it wasn't a red spot, so I wasn't sure if that was Jupiter or another planet. I probably should have researched this, but I don't want spoilers by accident. But I don't think he's on the moon, and I don't think he's on Mars. I think he might be somewhere else completely.
It seems like a long ways to be catapulted to, no matter where it is. Even if it was just the moon.
Well, he's on whatever place we saw, right? Like he's on, let's say he's on a moon of Jupiter.
Okay.
Well, that's where he always was. That's where Vite Bubble is. But he catapulted himself out of the bubble.
No.
Bless you.
Sorry. No, he's went to a different planet, clearly.
No, I think he's always been on another planet.
You think he went to that planet's moon? You think he's on a different planet?
I think he's been on a different planet the whole time. Yeah.
Not Earth.
No. He's on a planet where there's lakes full of babies. And
I don't think so, but let's continue.
Well, we're going to find out. So there are dead Mr. Phillipses everywhere and a few Miss Crookshankses, but mostly Mr. Phillipses. We don't know exactly where he is. He starts hacking frozen corpses apart and uses their limbs to write a giant "save me" on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, to whoever's watching. Not sure. But
the aliens?
Well, a satellite zoomed around. Oh, well, wait, there's a satellite. Where the fuck is he? There's not satellites just anywhere.
Well, we don't know that.
Okay, well, this is an alternate timeline, and he's in space anyway, so it could be a satellite specifically designed to watch him. That's possible.
Could be. But why would he say save me to the satellite that's watching him?
Good question. I don't know. So a satellite sees this, and he's like celebrating that. He's all happy, and then he gets pulled back in harshly into his bubble. See, so he had to be, he's outside the bubble. The rope,
the bubble
his breathing tube is continuous.
I don't know. Okay, so it's clearly not a glass bubble, but he just gets catapulted out of the atmosphere onto the moon or whatever it is, and then pulled back in.
Into the bubble, Vite Bubble, by the game warden. We get to hear him talk now.
But at least he got his message out. That's cool.
He got his message out. But the game warden is very perturbed. Says there's going to be consequences now, mister. You're under arrest. And
yes. Did we see the game warden's face? We didn't, right?
No,
He's wearing a helmet or something.
Yeah. I think he's got like a bandana on or something. And he says, he references God and how their God, not just Vite's God, but the God, I assume, the God of Vite Bubble, has left them and is unlikely to return. Now that's gotta be Dr. Manhattan, right? Who else could make Vite Bubble?
I don't know. I always thought it had something to do with, what's her name?
Who?
What's her name?
Lady True?
Yes.
Well, it could. It could. If anyone was going to make a satellite out there, I assume that would be Lady True.
Right. But who knows?
But they have no hope, apparently. If the game warden is a guy that is hoping to get out of Vite Bubble someday, he doesn't think that's ever going to happen. And then Vite gets kicked unconscious. Game warden's had enough of his shit. And that's it. That's the Vite story. Just these little bites every episode. A little bite of Vite.
A little bite of weirdo.
And the rest of this episode is devoted to a guy I'm really starting to like, and I feel like that's not going to matter anymore, and I'm heartbroken. But Looking Glass. Hoboken, 1985.
Right. I love seeing his backstory.
Do you think, were these guys Mormons? I think they were Mormons,
yeah,
right?
They seem to be Mormons, or some kind of version of something similar where they go out on missionary, what is it?
Yeah, well, I don't think that's a full-on mission necessarily, but they're trying to spread the word. They're preaching the gospel or something like that.
Yeah, this poor kid. Oh.
A bunch of these poor kids all dressed up in their white shirts and their ties. They've come all the way from Tulsa to preach to people in Hoboken, New Jersey.
At a carnival.
The
worst place to do that, because people don't want to hear about God when they're at the carnival to get drunk and have fun.
Well, and this was specifically set at a point of the Doomsday Clock, which you may or may not remember as being a thing from the Watchmen movie / comic book. But the doomsday clock was America, or maybe the world, but I think America specifically keeping track of how close they were to nuclear war with Russia. And this is set right there at the end of the comic book. Definitely not at the end of the movie, the comic book version of Watchmen for sure, where nuclear war was just about to break out. The clock was at like 1 or whatever in a few minutes or hours or whatever, missiles were going to start flying. And that's where the comic book hit its climax as well. Its climactic moment, the confrontation with Adrian Veidt and figuring out what his plan was, and then he enacts his plan, and that's what we get to see here, which was kind of awesome. So this little looking glass, little Wade,
little guy.
He just tries to go up to the most dangerous looking people in the park. Maybe good for him, I don't know. Maybe he's just naive, but maybe he's brave. But this hot punk girl takes him into the fun house and starts seducing him. She wants to know if he's a virgin, and she takes all his clothes off. And he got a boner.
She was going to rape him. He told her no.
True. She was basically primed to sexually assault this poor teenage boy.
Mm-hmm. He didn't want it.
He didn't want it, but he did want it.
Even though
he was conflicted.
Right. Even though his body parts wanted it, his mind did not. His mind and his heart did not.
His soul. But then she just stole his clothes and ran off.
Bitch.
Yeah, it's
the worst.
That's about as bad as it can get, right?
Yes.
And he's left alone in a fun house, so I'm writing there, well, this must be the start of his obsession with mirrors. But then it gets worse. Because of this whole doomsday clock thing. All of a sudden, there's a noise. Everything in the fun house, all the mirrors start to shatter. He gets out of there, and basically everybody or almost everybody is dead. There's a couple people like still moving around a little bit, but they're like bleeding.
Right. And his ears are bleeding. These other people's ears are bleeding.
Right. He's taken some damage, but he is definitely the most okay in the entire amusement park. That girl's dead. Very dead.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. She ran out of that fun house just in time to be annihilated.
Good for her.
And sure enough, what happened? We pan over to New York City, just across the river or whatever, right? And we see, latched onto the side of a building, a giant telepathic space squid.
Yep.
Now, that's how the comic book ended. That was the big thing, the giant telepathic space squid. Not like in the movie.
What do you mean telepathic?
Well, how did it kill all those people? They killed like 3 million people that night.
It made a loud noise.
In their minds. It bursted their brains.
Oh, it wasn't a real outward noise?
No.
Well, then how did the glass shatter?
Because the brain waves were bouncing around in there. That's how it saved Wade.
I think it was not that.
Look, I didn't make it up. I did not decide it was telepathic. That's somewhere in the written lore.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's move on.
And my next note after that was, this show gives no fucks about movie watchers. So if you've only seen the Watchmen movie and you have no idea about anything about the comic book, then you're like, what squid? What the fuck?
Right.
What does this have to do with anything? But this was exactly how the comic book came to a head. All right. So that was young Wade. Neat story. Cool guy. And now adult Wade. I don't know how these cops function, because they have to have a day job. And then he's a cop at night.
Do they have to have a day job?
It's his cover. You have to have a cover occupation so no one knows that you're a cop.
Then?
That's what I'm asking. How does he sleep?
I'm not going to worry about that.
Okay, fine. So he is watching a focus group, watching a video about how cool New York is now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The reviews are great. Everyone's like, New York's the best. I can get into a show or a restaurant and there's not even any lines.
Yeah.
And they get
Sounds like Disneyland right now.
And and what we learned, no, there would be lines at Disney. Well, yeah, there are lines because people suck. So Wade's job is to read into the focus group participants of what they really think, because they said this commercial for New York looks great and it makes me want to go there. But Wade says, nope, they're all scared shitless and they would never step foot in New York, and no one would because squid.
Why would they lie?
I don't know. Probably happens in focus groups all the time.
I guess.
But in this case, I think it's fear-driven. Like, they don't want to even talk about or think about the fact that a psychic squid killed 3 million people.
I did a focus group once on Tom
Ridley?
Like it was a movie called Eagle. He was an he was a pilot. It was like right around Top Gun, but after, and it had Tommy.
Iron Eagle?
Iron Eagle, yeah.
Well, shit, man. That could segue us right into Cobra Kai if you wanted to. That's Johnny's favorite movie.
Oh, is it?
Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 2.
Yeah. I told him I didn't like it, I think. I don't remember.
Oh, that should have been fun, though. Was it a complete movie, or was it still missing some special effects?
I think it was a complete movie. If it wasn't, it was still rather long, because I was in the theater for like at least an hour.
I've never gotten to do that.
Yeah, it was at a mall, and they said, "Would you like to come see a movie?" And then fill out a form. Sure.
I thought you were almost at a British accent there. Would you like to come see a movie?
Would you like to come see a movie?
And fill out a form afterwards? Okay.
Sorry.
So that's his day job. He has this amazing insight into whether or not people are lying. We get that. He's been talking about that for a while. That's his pod. But now we're learning more and more and more.
Yeah.
Okay. So, assembly of cops, which Lori is very much in charge of now. Even though she's not a cop, she's FBI, but whatever. She is having them go and check every single house of worship until you find the church from the what are they called? The cavalry. From the cavalry's video.
Right.
Because they were in a church going tick-tock, tick-tock. Find that church. Cool. All right. In the bullpen, Angela asks Wade about the pills, but Wade doesn't have any answers yet. All right. And then Wade gets called into Lori's office, and she wants to know about his past. She's looking into his file. She goes, "You were in New York City on 11/12, the way we refer to 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's not 11/12, 11/2, November 2nd, right? And she talks about how he joined the police force after the White Night, which is probably somewhat unique.
Right. She thinks it was because of the White Night.
Well, a lot of cops quit. The police force was reduced to nothing after White Night, between the murders and then people being afraid and quitting, but he wanted in. And she figures out, she knows that his mask is made out of,
Reflectoline.
I think I wrote it down somewhere, but something like that. Reflectoline, Reflectolite, something like that. And she says that stuff it protects you against psychic blasts. So now we're starting to figure out Looking Glass. He was a victim of a psychic blast once, survived, and now he wants to make sure that never happens again.
Does that mean that also people who have the same power as him that survived the incident cannot read his mind?
Well, but is it mind reading?
I don't know.
Because I think he would say it's not mind reading.
Or whatever it is that he has.
Because when he's got the people in his pod, he's looking at sharply at the way their pupils dilate, or the way a finger twitches. When he's
watching the focus groups, he's not watching their faces.
That's true. Does he have an actual superpower? That would be a cool residual side effect of the psychic blast. I could see that. An actual superpower. And that just kind of makes me more sad with what's going to happen later, but yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so she heard about the pills that Angela was asking for because she bugged his desk. And now he knows.
His cactus.
But he says that the pills are a matter of medical privacy and excuses himself. And then we get to see his home. He goes home. He's got his hat on.
And he's watching porn. Weird
Hold
porn.
On. Before the porn, he takes off his hat and he throws it down. And you can see Reflectoline inside the hat. Mm-hmm. And then he has the same mask that he wears at work. He has another one at home, and he puts that on his head as soon as he gets into his house. This is how he lives. He always wears Reflectoline.
Yeah, I can see how that might be a problem for marriage.
It would be
weird.
Harder to live with that, but it gets so much worse. This is just the first step. Maybe if he wears a hat all the time around the house, maybe you can learn to live with that.
Yeah, sure.
But then there's more. Okay, well, yes. Next up, he's eating a can of beans while watching gay Minutemen porn.
Yeah.
So this was the Minutemen specifically, like the guys before the Watchmen, like that hooded justice guy. He was plowing some other guy.
And it was almost like a soap opera. He was like watching it as if it were a soap opera.
Yeah, he wasn't jerking off. He was eating beans.
Right.
He was really interested in the story.
Seemed like it.
But then his fun is interrupted by an alarm. He sprints to his bomb shelter, hits a button, but the alarm won't stop, so he winds up going back to his house and destroying the alarm. And he starts freaking out. He calls the alarm company, which is called Extra Dimensional Security.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to badger them into sending out a replacement alarm system ASAP and more reflectoline, because he needs that.
Another roll. Throw in another roll. Yeah. We should start a business like that.
Taking advantage of the mentally ill?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good call.
No, we're comforting them.
It just sounds like religion. you did want to start a religion once.
I
We
did.
never got around to that. It's not too late.
I just can't take people's money.
There's still... You just want to fantasize about it?
Well, I mean, I would like to, but I just can't. I mean, I would be on the up and up and be like, hey, this isn't about God or anything. This is about community and
Money.
money.
This is about you giving me your money, and I'll tell you that everything's going to be okay, and then you feel safe. All right, well, that's a good idea. Maybe if you're straightforward about it, you'll get a few people. All right, so that was Wade's night. He winds up like going to bed on his couch with his reflectoline mask on, and it does seem kind of miserable.
Yeah, it's sad. He's got a sad existence.
He is very much, this is where the marriage really can't last, right? He is very much crippled by his psychological damage, by his paranoia.
Yeah.
And
Can you imagine trying to have sex without your reflectoline?
Oh my God.
Because of the whole incident to begin with when he was still a virgin?
Right. I mean, you have an orgasm, you let your guard down. Next thing you know, there's a creature in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Can't let that happen.
Mm-mm.
Got to wear the mask during sex.
Oh, that would be weird and creepy.
Wouldn't all you really would need to do would be to find someone else who's really into masks, right?
Yes, that's all you would need to do. That's it.
It's like when two furries find each other.
Uh-huh. Like the panda guy.
Then they get to yiff. Yeah, the panda guy. I bet he has a bunch of girlfriends.
I mean, there are a lot of cops wearing masks.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them women.
Yeah, he could date within the Force. They all get it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I bet he has groupies. I mean, the looking glass mask looks kind of cool.
Creepy cool.
All right, here we go. So the next day he's watching some serial focus group, but his ex-wife pages him. He goes to her place of work where apparently she clones dogs.
Oh.
It's so fucked up. Want to explain what happens, babe?
I think they were Malteses or something like that.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Maybe they were Samoyed puppies, but they were so cute. White. She's like, do these look exactly the same? He's like, no, this one's smaller. And instead of giving it a nice home, she puts it in the incinerator.
Yep. It's just more trash. You got to burn it up and start over again.
Puppy.
That's so fucked up.
At least we didn't hear it like cry or anything.
I think it did.
No, it didn't.
Briefly. Okay.
I don't want to.
No, you're right. You're right. It didn't cry. It laughed.
It laughed.
It went, ah! And then it was gone. Oh, Jesus. So she analyzed the pills, and they are called nostalgia.
Yeah.
Which apparently is a prohibited substance. It's a memory in pill form.
Mm-hmm. So
That
it's supposed to bring
sounds
back your memories? Or show you the memories of... It's like memories in a capsule.
Right. And it's hard to imagine that you would lose your memories by putting them into pill form.
Well...
So I think it would just be a
yeah.
mechanism of sharing your memories with someone else.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So he had these pills. Grandpa had these pills.
Right.
And
Grandpa
he says,
will.
it helps me to remember. But it really didn't help him to remember. He doesn't need the pills.
Well, yeah, he also didn't really need to be in a wheelchair.
Right.
That was all his little scheme to slowly and excruciatingly get Angela to understand whatever the fuck it is that's happening, and we still don't know.
Right. And the time's running out, he said. I remember him saying, time's running out.
Oh, yeah, whatever he did, whatever he's involved in, it's happening very soon.
Right. In 4 days, Angela's going to hate him.
Right. And that was 2 episodes ago.
Mm-hmm. So now it's...
We're not sure.
Maybe.
I mean, this episode's at least 2 days long.
Yeah, but you never know what's going on in these
We definitely
shows.
do not know what's going on. Okay, so later that night, Wade is at a squid support group. I think, what did he... when the lady walks in, he asks her if, like, she's a friend of Nemo or something like that.
Right.
That's their little code word.
Are you finding Nemo?
But she seems nice. So they sit in on this group and people sharing their pain of the fallout of 11-2.
Yes.
And Wade seems to be in sort of a leadery role. I don't know if he's the head of the squid support group, but he gets the group to think about how if the squid had not come down and killed 3 million people, the world would have ended in nuclear hellfire.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a fair point. It's one of those things. It's the Thanos thing, right? Like, we're going to kill 3 million people because then the world will be a better place. Or Thanos wants to kill half of everybody because then the other half will be
better off,
I guess.
Jobs for everybody.
It's not wrong. I mean, if it really... Think about what happened on 9/11, right? 9/11, when the planes crashed into the towers and the towers fell, like the Pentagon thing didn't affect that many people, but that drama of seeing the buildings fall and only thousands of people died in comparison to the squid. But that, like, crime stopped in New York City and dropped all around the country, and people were just nicer to each other for at least a couple months. And then
24 hours.
Then the shit came back again. But for a while, everybody was just setting aside their personal differences and bonding over this tragedy. So the thought of 3 million people getting their brains melted from a squid. Yeah. I mean, I could see it.
Yeah, sure.
It would save the world for a while.
Doesn't seem like it saved it forever, because now look where we're at.
In the real world?
No.
Oh, in the show. Well, but we still don't know what's happening in the show. Fuck. I hope we find out. All right. I wrote down this quote from him because I thought it seemed like inspirational, sort of. But he said, "We know there are where'd it go? He said, "We know there are dimensions other than this one, but this is the dimension in which we live, and we will not live in fear." Of course, he's wearing his Reflectoline hat at the time, and no one knows that. Except maybe one person knew that. So this lady outside says that she doesn't believe him, that he's not afraid. And so he follows her to a restaurant.
A bar.
Or a bar. But they're sitting at a booth, I thought.
They
might surf it. And he's explaining his life as a bullshit detector. And she tries to bullshit him and fails. That works. She's a radiologist. And then they're supposed to share their squid stories.
Well, right. So he must not be able to read mind. Otherwise, he would know really what was happening. But...
Oh, yeah. He can't... Yeah, you're right. Okay, so he really can't read minds.
Yeah, he can just tell when people are lying.
Right. But you were right about the part where you couldn't see the eyeballs of the people in the focus group because they were facing the other way. So there's got to be some psychic component.
Maybe it's video or something. Maybe they had them on video.
Yeah, I could go with a psychic component. I dig it. So they're supposed to share their squid stories. And I did think it was weird that her story was not a squid story at all. She just talked about how she likes to watch this movie. And the movie was about a band that died or something on Squid Day. But she was just describing scenes from the movie. So she wasn't lying. But while we were watching that before the reveal to come, I was thinking, it's a little weird that, she's not actually saying anything about herself. It seems fishy. Or squiddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also that she just showed up and now they're best pals.
Right. Well,
and he's buying it.
A little bit of flirting going on there too.
Yeah.
She only feels better when she's watching that movie or fucking.
Yeah, that totally, he was all in at that point.
But she wasn't lying about that either, apparently. She might actually have squid damage, but there was a lot that she wasn't saying. Right? Outside, just a little glimpse into the future that could await all of us, especially after a squid attack. Cigarettes are completely outlawed in the future. She started smoking one on a porch, and he's like, "Hey, you can't do that." But then he takes a drag, then they kiss.
Gross.
And she says, "My ride's here." And she gets picked up, and it's the lettuce truck from episode 1. Mm-hmm.
Of course, did a piece of lettuce fall out? Or he
yes.
just saw it?
No, a piece of lettuce fell out.
Conveniently fell out. Mm-hmm.
Very conveniently. So he's like, "Oh, shit, the lettuce truck." And he gets in his car, his little Prius or whatever it was, and follows them.
He even calls it in.
Yes. Well, he sees them put on Rorschach masks and go into an abandoned department store. So he calls for backup. He searches their truck, finds a gun, because he doesn't have one because he's a cop. And inside the store is the setup of the church from the video. It was just a set. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then out of nowhere, a basketball teleports into the church. It falls out of the sky. And he's like, what the fuck? So someone comes in, they're taking measurements, they're acting all sciencey or whatever. And he chases these guys down, or follows them, and then tries to get the jump with his gun, saying, freeze, I'm a cop, and you guys suck. And it was all a setup. The gun's loaded with blanks, the lady is part of the Rorschach people, the cavalry, but the whole point was to get him there. The lettuce truck was intentional. They rigged it to make the lettuce fall out at just the right moment.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden in comes...
Well, they blocked his radio signal, so he didn't actually call for backup.
Right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then in comes...
And then in comes the mayor?
Senator Keene. He's there. He's part of the cavalry.
And at this point, I get a little confused. So he says that he's trying to keep the Rorschach people, cavalry people, under his thumb.
Or under control.
Under control, right.
Because he took leadership of cavalry to make sure that the White Knight would never happen again.
Yeah. This is all very strange. Wow. How is he doing that?
Just by being the guy in charge and saying, no more murdering everybody.
And they're like, okay, TikTok.
Well, are they?
I don't know.
Because think about what happens.
He thinks they are, unless so he can't lie to him because he'll know if he's lying.
Right. It's good to be Looking Glass in that regard, because when he's like, I saw this video and it changed my life forever, well, he's telling the truth, apparently. Right. So what they've been playing with is a CX924 teleportation window. There was one in Herald Square in New York on 11/2.
And that seems illegal too. Because
it's illegal to have it now.
Right.
Yeah. And we know from the comic book that squid was teleported into New York City, so maybe this is how it got there. Maybe it came out through this portal and then grew really fast. Yes.
I can see why the portals would be illegal then.
But Keene says the 7th Cavalry is planning something new, and he's going to set Looking Glass free with this video. Okay. In return, he wants Looking Glass to help Lori stay on top of Angela and keep her busy. Because then if they don't, and Angela keeps sniffing around, they're going to have to kill her.
Right.
No one wants to do that. Now, they know that Wade is Looking Glass.
And they know that Angela is Sister Night.
Right. So if they wanted to kill him, you'd think they'd already be dead.
It seems easy enough, right? That all of those people could have killed him right then.
And I say this because of the cliffhanger. And we don't know what happens yet. But we've got to go watch it. All right. So we get the video. It's on like a CD or something. It's a message from Adrian Veidt to Robert Redford.
Right.
And the message was recorded 7 years before Robert Redford was elected president, but then played for him after he was elected president. Right. And so in this video, Veidt confesses everything. He said the only way to stop the war was fear in 1985. And so he sent in this monster. It wasn't from another dimension. It was something I made up. I made the squid.
Okay.
And he said more small events will follow to remind people that they should be afraid. And hopefully that will help keep the world a safer place. So I assume that's got to be the Squid Falls, right?
Sure.
And he wants Redford to be his partner in building Utopia. And that's it. That's the video. That's the big reveal.
Yeah.
So now Wade, going through his head, is like, I've been spending the last 20, 30 years, however long it's been, wearing fucking Reflectoline on my head.
Yeah.
Like an idiot. And there's no reason for it. It was all a scam. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So I guess they let him go because then he's at another focus group for perfumes or something. But he goes to his real job and Angela says she wants the pills. And he gives her the nostalgia, but they're talking about it, right? They're talking about, hey, it's nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. And he says he wants to help. So she tells him about Granddad Will, the cover-up about Judd's death, and how she covered it up because there's no way Grandpa Will could have killed Judd. And at that point, Lori has her arrested. So now Wade has betrayed her, and she figured it out. Angela's going to jail. But she downs the bottle of pills.
Right.
That
I can't wait to
be
see.
good for you.
Oh my gosh. It's going to be amazing.
And Wade goes home without his hat. His new EDS system is there. He throws it out, but then he picks it up again. Whatever. But then he goes into his house and he's just going to figure out what to do with the rest of his life. But then the cliffhanger. Do you remember it?
No.
After he goes in his house and closes the door, a car pulls up, a bunch of fucking 7th Cavalry guys with shotguns walk out and start heading towards Wade's house. The implication, he's probably going to die. But why would they kill him? I don't get it.
Maybe they're just there to have a meeting.
I mean, if they knew who he was the whole time, they should have killed him a while ago.
They couldn't be. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they're there. Maybe they're there just to say thanks for getting Angela out of the way.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like he did what they said and got Angela out of the way, and now they're going to kill him.
I don't know.
But here, the frustrating part is that I feel like we're not going to get an answer to this. Because the preview for the next episode is all about Angela having a shit ton of drugs in her stomach, and she starts hallucinating like crazy.
Right.
So we're probably not going to find out what happened to Wade, but you never know. We could still have an A story and a B story, or that could be 2 episodes away. But I'm looking forward to finding out. So what do you think of Wade? I like him.
I like him now too. I didn't like him at all before. But now that I know his backstory, I like him. I feel sorry for him.
He's just another damaged soul in the universe.
Yeah, he's a little more charming now than he was before.
Yeah. His wife should take him back.
I don't know about that.
Well, he doesn't have to wear the hat now.
He eats cans of beans for dinner. He couldn't pick something else.
It's good fiber.
He's got a stink.
It's protein, fiber.
He can't pick something else with protein and fiber.
Okay. Now, say what you will about Wade, but he does not have a lot of time for cooking.
You couldn't pick something else other than a can of beans?
Well, he's living alone.
Okay, at least get like black beans or...
Well, what kind of beans was he eating? I don't know.
I feel like it was pork and beans or pinto... I think it was pork and beans.
These baked beans, he would have gotten, it's like dessert almost. Mm-hmm. Delicious. I don't know, man. I'm just saying.
Beans is not a good choice.
He's running his own focus group company.
If you were eating beans every night for dinner, I would not be with you. I'm sorry. I just wouldn't. Get your bean eating ass out of here.
I would just go in another room when it's time to fart.
At least warm them up.
He might have warmed them up.
He didn't. He ate them straight out of the can.
I bet he did it cowboy style. He cracked open the can, put it on the stove, turned the fire on, and then just ate warm beans out of a can like he was on a trail in the Old West.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If he didn't have to hold down 2 jobs, I bet he would cook more.
I bet he would too. I'm sure he would.
He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. All right. Well,
he is.
I think we should just go now and find out what happens to Angela. Will those pills burn a hole in her stomach, her brain, both? Will she get through this?
Yeah, they did say that it causes damage.
Right. It's apparently a very dangerous drug, that nostalgia.
Maybe they'll find some kind of inoculation.
Maybe they'll just pump her stomach.
Mm.
That would make sense, actually.
Yeah.
They should just do that. All right. Well, let's go find out.
Okay, here we go.
All right, here we go. We're going to go brave the Squid Falls and see the memories.
Okay, bye.
Memories like the corners of my mind. Misty watercolor memories of the way we were.